gonna somehow overcome the underlying economic logic that is driving the entire fucking process.
Yeah, I can't wait for their version of 2017, where you have to, uh, instead of luxury space gay communism, luxury space heterosexual basedism. That there's going to be a post scarcity world where everyone can be based.
Where everyone will be friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everyone gets friends. Yeah,
everyone has friends. But just like just wrapping it up here, like in terms of this dystopian world that we're all imagining here, he says, I'd asked Vance to tell me on the record what he'd like liberal Americans who thought that what he was proposing was a fascist takeover of America to understand. He spoke earnestly. I think the cultural world you operate in is incredibly biased, he said, against his movement and the leaders of it, like me in particular. So it's just like, yeah, the people who politically oppose me are biased against my worldview and would actually seek to prevent me from leading it. Okay. He goes on to say, he goes on to say, he encouraged me to resist this tendency, which he thought was the product of a media machine leading us towards a soulless dystopia that none of us want to live in. That impulse, he said, is fundamentally in service of something that is far worse than anything in your wildest nightmares than what you see here. Okay, but again, like I wish James Pogue or someone would have like get him to sketch out. Okay, like what is the worst scenario? Like what is the scenario you're talking about here? Is it just more of the same? Because like that's a nightmare scenario to me too. But like I mean, he's waving away that like I know a fascist takeover America seems disturbing to you, but if we don't do it, the end result is going to be something really scary for you. And I would have liked him to like just I want to hear that. Let's get wild here. I want to hear this fantasy scenario play out.
I don't think it's like I don't think it's like that different from anything you've seen them describe. I think it would be like, bug world. Your job is Bitcoin mining for Facebook, like as we've made fun of, that type of thing. But also like there are just woke prosecutors everywhere, and you're just crime, just nonstop crime. Like one crime happens to every one person every week. I guess that would be it. It like a version of San Francisco where it's mandated that you eat bugs and live in the pod, right?
I gotta say, living under the techno globo homo bug pod regime seems categorically more pleasant to me than
it's not any different. It seems better to you because you'll enjoy it through this like a cultural screen that will be more pleasant for you. It'll be the same thing. There will be no meaningful difference to anybody who's like on the wrong side of this. It's the same experience of immiseration, misery, destruction, death. And in the center, the lucky people, it's the same experience of total spiritual exsanguination. It's just whether it will be told, the story that it will tell you about what's happening will make you feel like you are participating, that you are somehow in charge of your life, and that justice in some way is being meted out. That will be, and that those will be just different modules for the same program that's going to be running everywhere.
Basically, just like to end the article, JD Vance has a hangover. That's how the article ends. And he says, if what he was doing worked, he said, it will mean that my son grows up in a world where his masculinity, his support of his family and his community, his love of his community is more important than whether it works for fucking McKinsey. So, I hope that JD Vance's son doesn't have to work for McKinsey. But so, that's something we can agree on.
That is the world you can live in if you want to. Like it's your priority. That's your priority. Whether like your love for your family means more than if you work for McKinsey. That is entirely up to you, personally.
Well, I don't want to end on
some interesting ideas.
I don't want to end on a totally depressing note, but I mean, like it's like I said, there's this pessimism and this kind of like fear that we all have. It's coming from the same place, and yeah, I don't know. I thought it was an interesting article.
I do that I'm kind of stuck on that McKinsey line because that's such a tell for, I mean, like this in general, but very specifically Vance. I mean, like if you, no one tricked you into thinking the other thing, which is the thing that Vance thought for, I guess, the first 35 fucking years of his life, because he wrote a book about how everyone he's ever known is a fucking loser. He's the man for going to work for something that's really the same as McKinsey in Teal and going to Yale, all these institutions he hates now. That you weren't, I mean, I guess you were tricked into that in the sense that like anyone is tricked into believing anything, but like again, entirely up to you. I look forward to JD Vance's fourth or fifth personality change during January 6th too in 6 years.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts? Because I think that about wraps it up for the Vanity Fair article and today's episode.
How was the Steven Donziger release party, Will?
Oh, well, I mean, it was. I had a great time. Last night I moderated a panel with Steven Donziger and Chris Smalls, and I don't know if that was recorded or not. If it was, we'll release it. But I mean, I guess like not to end on a totally note of absolutely suicidal depression, but I mean, the way I opened it and the way I connected the two of them is like, like I said, this bleakness and despair that like I feel like everyone has felt for like the last 2 or 3 years. There are like very few like bright points of things that give you reason to like, and if not like, cause I'm not selling like a message of like, oh, it's hope, like something could come of this. Cause like, I mean, who knows? We just have to take things as they come. But just like the simple pleasure of seeing someone good rack up a W against like the most evil and powerful forces in the world. And Steven and Chris were both great. And I guess like I mean I closed out the Q&A thing with just like I said, this feeling of despair and this fear we all have that like the world is ending. I think like it's sort of like the Adam Curtis thing. Like the way out of this trap is helping other people, or to say it like in a less simple way, like a belief and a struggle for something bigger than yourself on behalf of other people, and a belief that in doing so, if you like meaningfully challenge power, like you may lose everything and probably will, but like it is a belief that that it is possible, like that a future exists. And I think that's the kind of crisis that we are dealing with right now culturally, is that like nobody, not just they don't imagine a future, it's just that we like live in this eternal present where the past just recreates itself over and over again in increasingly shitty ways. And I think it's this paralysis that we all have of like not being able to imagine a future or imagine anything different. And for Steven and what Chris Smalls did, I think they're two examples of individuals who did meaningfully challenge real power in a real way, and in Chris's case unambiguously won, and in Donziger's case, yeah, he lost 1,000 days of his freedom, but I think Gibson Dunn and Chevron did not get what they wanted out of his prosecution and what they put him through. I think they did not achieve their intended goals. So I mean, like I said, like I don't want to just like have everyone be riding the hope train, but I mean like there are these are two examples, and I was very honored to share a stage with them of just two men who have stood up on behalf of the right thing and succeeded. And I hope that they inspire other people to do so, because I think the only way out of our individual fear of being really just like totally naked against like the most powerful forces in the world, or just being ground down every day further and further and feeling unable to stop it. I think the only way out of that fear is other people, is working with other people and like working with them towards a tangible goal and like a collective struggle for something that you believe in. So
absolutely,
that's my way of ending this episode, and that's how I ended last night's talk with Chris and Steven.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know that Matt said this way earlier, sometime last year, and this is even more true now because of everything that has happened since then. But the fact that you cannot predict anything in the world, that no one in any type of power seems like a rational actor, that you legitimately do not know what is going to happen next, that can and often is a horrifying thing, but it does not always have to be. And despite that uncertainty, you, to whatever your capacity this means, can operate with the hope that the future, good or bad, is not totally written.
And it's just like just a final thought on this. I was also at the Stevens rally on Monday in front of his apartment, like the first time he was able to like freely walk outside his apartment building for the first time in about 3 years, and except to go to like a halfway house or like check-ins or things like that. What I think Chris Smalls said is that he said like when Amazon fired him, He was like, I lost my health care. I lost my job. I'm unemployed. Like the pandemic just happened. Nobody's hiring. I really have nothing to lose. So I'm going to make this my job now. And he stayed at that bus station for a year, signing up people and just talking to other workers at that Amazon facility. And eventually, won against Amazon. And I think like the thing is like, and Donziger's case is another perfect example of this. It's just like, I know America was fucked up, but like the fact that like a judge appointed a private law firm to prosecute an American citizen, regardless of what they're accused of, is chilling. And it's a vision of the future that is in store for all of us. And it's this feeling that like, there's no one coming to help us. Like, no matter how cynical you are about politics, the most cynical of us still have some belief or placing our chips on this idea, just like Moldbug and all those guys are, that there's just some figure is going to come and change everything, or right the wrongs and punish the bad people and like change things and make it better. People still have that hope, and it is a terrifying thing to realize that there really is no one in power who is going to have your back or who's going to protect you at all. But it's also a very liberating idea because it means that it truly is in your hands. But if it's in just your hands, then you will fail, and then you will become disillusioned and become, like I said, I think more likely to go down this path of sort of like right-wing nationalist nihilism, whatever was in that article that we just read. I think, but if you do it's through other people, you will not feel alone, and you stand some chance of like I said, protecting yourself or doing something because no one else is going to do it for you.
Whether or not the American Napoleon or Gaddafi is out there, he still wants you to get to work. So act like he's coming to do inspections tomorrow, pal.
All right. And once again, and congratulations to Steven Donziger on his freedom. I'm very happy for him. He was Wednesday night was the first time he'd been in Brooklyn in 3 years. And so
he immediately asked to be taken back.
Did he get a chopped cheese from a bodega?
Yeah. He was quoted as saying, "I'm spreading love. It's the Brooklyn way."
So I think that's a good place to leave it for today. So cheers, fellas.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.